Opening hook. Imagine scoring the goal that finally stops a drought 8 years long and turns a player into a symbol for a whole nation. Today we dive into Kerr's iconic moment, what it means for the Matildas, and how a single strike reframes an entire team's future. From the moment Kerr tucked that finish away, you could feel the room shift. Not just because it was a beauty of an angle, but because it arrived at a moment when everything felt possible yet fragile. Personally, I think the real punchline isn't just the goal itself but what it represents. A performance under pressure that blends youthful fearlessness with hard-earned resilience. What makes this really interesting is how Kerr describes her mindset. She was a kid with a ball, not a ledger of expectations. In my opinion, that mindset change is what separates momentary magic from a sustained run of breakthroughs. Let me break down the core threads driving this story, and then push into the bigger implications for Australian football and the global game. First, Kerr's evolution from teenage prodigy to seasoned captain. The 2010 Asian Cup final is a ghost you hear about in training rooms. A moment that didn't feel monumental then, yet it quietly seeded the hunger that carried her through dozens of matches and near misses since. What many people don't realize is how formative that naivete was. She didn't feel the weight because she hadn't learned to carry it yet. If you take a step back and think about it, the real drama isn't the goal, it's the transformation. That transformation matters because it shapes a generation's relationship with big moments. Treat them as opportunities, not endgames. Second, the weight of expectation on the current Matildas. Kerr acknowledges the double bind. More knowledge brings more pressure, yet experience is precisely what you need in a do-or-die semifinal. From my perspective, this is the paradox of modern sport. Players can be better prepared, yet the stakes feel higher than ever. The team's narrative, years of close calls finally culminating in a trophy shot, feeds into a broader trend. Teams testing the emotional and mental boundaries of a squad in pursuit of a first major silverware in a global market that's increasingly unforgiving and hyper-competitive. Third, the idea of momentum versus preparation. The piece notes what happened in 2023, 2024, and 2018, and then pivots to a current run that looks like it could finally break the cycle. One thing that immediately stands out is how preparation under a relatively new coach intersects with a core group that's been together long enough to demand a certain identity. What this really suggests is that timing matters just as much as talent. The right coach, the right window, the right pressure can convert near misses into a trophy run. People often misread it as luck, but I see it as a carefully navigated arc. The team leaning into freedom while preserving discipline. Fourth, the personal narrative of Kerr's ACL comeback and physical stamina. The behind-the-scenes details, 5 games in 17 days, the push to the 90th minute, the moment of, I'm done at the 62nd minute, are a stark reminder of the human element. This raises a deeper question about how elite athletes manage recovery and performance when a sports calendar is a relentless grind. From my vantage point, the real story is resilience, not just physical, but strategic. Choices about where to push, when to rest, and how to maximize impact in a tournament setting. A detail I find fascinating is how the ice bath ritual becomes part of the legend-building process. A small ritual that signals both vulnerability and recovery to fans watching at home. Deeper insights and wider patterns. This moment doesn't exist in isolation. It's part of a broader arc. A rising Asian power with a global audience. A homegrown league hungry for legitimacy, and a cohort of players who matured together through a string of near misses. If you zoom out, you can sense a shift in how fans consume women's football. Moments like Kerr's goal travel faster than any press conference, shaping sponsorship, viewership, and youth participation in real time. What this really suggests is that a single moment can amplify infrastructure, youth programs, coaching education, and national expectations, if the narrative around it is properly stitched into a longer-term plan. Closing thought. So where does this lead the Matildas? The path is not just about defending a title or repeating a once-in-a-generation moment. It's about crystallizing a culture where pressure yields performance, and experience converts into calm, decisive action when it matters most. The big question for fans and analysts is, can Kerr and the squad translate that moment into a sustained era of success, World Cup, Olympics, and beyond? Personally, I think they can, provided they treat every big game as a chance to push the ceiling even higher. What do you think is the missing piece for that next leap? The tactical edge, the depth in the squad, or the mental conditioning to navigate a longer campaign? Let me know in the comments how you'd plot their next 12 months.